vs. Capcom!
Hey everybody, welcome back for another 2D fighting edition of SHOREVIEWKEN, where today we are taking a look at the third and last game in the Capcom Vs series to get a release on the PS1, and that's Marvel Vs Capcom Clash of Superheroes EX Edition, which was released in 2000, a year after the Dreamcast version and 2 years after the arcade original hit the scene. I've looked at the other PS1 ports of the Capcom Vs games and compared them to their Sega Saturn counterparts, and the result has been basically the same. They were considerably inferior ports, and it seems like a no-brainer that this one would obviously not hold a candle to the Dreamcast version, which is true, but like with the other two, the question still stands. Just because it's not as good as the arcade-perfect Sega conversion, does that mean it's not worth playing at all? Let's find out. So we can start with the obvious. Just like the other PS1 ports, this game is lacking the tag feature present in the arcade and Dreamcast versions, and instead reverts back to a one-on-one fighter, with your partner being relegated to an assist character that can jump in to give you a hand, but nothing more than that. This also means that before starting a game, you have to choose if you want one of the main playable characters to be your partner and they cannot perform assist attacks, only team super combos, or one of the special assist characters, in which case you can perform assist attacks but not team super combos, but you cannot have both. Unfortunately, there is again a crossover mode that allows for tag matches, but only when both players are using the same characters, so it's not much of a consolation really. Something else carried over from the Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter PS1 port is the health recovery system, where between rounds the winner doesn't recover all of their health, but instead only the portion that's highlighted in red, which again makes it more difficult to totally dominate another player round after round. Also, as you might imagine, this version does play a bit slower than the others and features load times that were not present in the Dreamcast version, but I'd say overall, even though it's been scaled way down, this is still at the very least an enjoyable 2D fighter in its own right. You can still have a lot of fun with it, but it will leave you wishing you were playing the Dreamcast version. Aside from all of its flaws, this game does feature all of the playable characters and hidden characters from the other versions, plus probably the coolest boss character in the series with Onslaught, a few different gameplay modes, and even a gallery mode where you can view some really cool artwork, as well as the game's various ending sequences that you've unlocked. In short, this is definitely a butchered port in terms of gameplay. A lot of alterations had to be made to accommodate the PS1's limited amount of RAM, but there's still some fun to be had here if you're not too picky about these kinds of things. Now on to the graphics and sound, and again, things had to be scaled way down in order to accommodate the PS1, and it really shows. While this is still a very good-looking game in general, with a variety of really colorful and detailed stages, as well as the always awesome character designs you'd expect from the series, there are a lot of frames of animation missing here, which is always noticeable, but especially so with the bigger characters. Also, the entire game is a little bit squished for some reason, though it's not the most noticeable thing ever, and for some reason, when you perform a throw or an air combo, the screen zooms in with each hit, which is pretty annoying, honestly. So overall, this is still a good-looking game, but with a lot of concessions made. And the same goes for the audio. This is a fantastic soundtrack, but the sound is so compressed here that pretty much everything has kind of a muffled sound that really hurts my enjoyment of it. Again, I'm guessing this is something that had to be done so the game would run as smoothly as possible on the PS1, but it's still kind of irritating. So just like the gameplay, Capcom did the best they could with the visuals and audio, given the limitations of the hardware they were working on, but again, it'll just leave you wanting to play the Dreamcast version. If this is your only means of playing this game, then by all means play it, but for everybody else, the Dreamcast port is really the only way to go. It's Marvel Vs Capcom EX Edition, and they tried. They really, really tried.
You win.